Alright lads, so today we're here to showcase the brand new 1000-year Blood War anime version of OH-etsu, the Blade God himself. And I'll say right from the get-go, I've already done a few runs with this character, and he is absolutely crazy. Easily going to be one of the more fun characters of the entire year if you did pull him. And if you have already pulled him and played with the character, I think many people will agree. I feel like in the long run, this character is going to stand out quite a lot, especially with the way they did design him, because he is kind of going against the meta of what usually makes a great character great in Bleach Brave Souls. One thing I like doing though is having a look at the character's model and comparing it to the original character, in this case the manga version, and you can see quite the big difference. In this case, the colors are a lot different. I really do like that we get to see Sayafushi on display here during the character's model, and in general, of course, as expected, it is an upgrade in terms of modeling. One thing that I will say though, if you are an OH-etsu fan, you kind of got the best of both worlds with both of these characters. When the original OH-etsu first came out, he was one of the best normal attack damage characters in the entire game, and then now with this new anime character, he's one of the best SP characters in the entire game. So if you are playing when the original one released, you got to experience OH-etsu as a normal attack damage character, and now a strong attack damage character. Likewise too, in terms of the way this character is presented, they are also both different. The original one is more so the goofy OH-etsu. You can kind of see that in the model. He's just having a bit of fun, he's doing his goofy stuff. But this new anime one is the OH-etsu when he's not playing around, he's getting serious, and that's what you get with this particular character. So what makes him an insane character and different compared to any other new character? For starters, this character does not want to inflict stat ailments. He doesn't care about that. So with that in mind, at a base, the character has Frenzy +2, with a 140% damage increase to any enemy that is not inflicted with a stat ailment. That in of itself is great as is, but he also is a character that has the gauge effects. And once the gauge does activate, it then gives him 100% more strong attack damage and also an additional frenzy +1. That in of itself allows him on paper to hit very, very hard. And it's going to be very consistent too, because it isn't tied behind inflicting a stat ailment. Especially as of late too, a lot of the characters that we have been seeing, granted we've been having some amazing characters, right? But some of them don't perform as well when they don't have killer, because their increased chance is tied behind having killer effects. In OH-etsu's case, I mean, when he has killer, in this case, no affiliation killer plus, so he is doing 40% more damage to no affiliation enemies. When he has killer, he's doing insane damage, but when he doesn't, he's still doing insane damage. He generally does not care about killer. With that in mind though, since he is also a gauge character, he has some other good things about him. He starts the quest with 70% of the gauge form, and then he also does reduce his strong attack cooldown by 30% once the gauge does activate, and that lets him spam his strong attacks quite often. He has gauge rampage, so another skill to help him keep the gauge at full, and then alongside that, he has some extra utility effects, weaken defense to do more damage upon using the soul bomb, poise break, which is going to be really good in limit breaker quest, and then he also does have long stride, so he's going to be a very fast character. He is also an arena character, if you care about that. By taking to arena level 5, you are getting more skills. The skills you want to in an arena character. But yeah, OH-etsu in a nutshell is going to be insane damage, super fast, spam strong attacks. That's the best way to describe him. With that said, for today's build, we are going to be using a Lieutenant's Badge, a Fortification Pill, and also an Artisanal Tea Set, using Ichigo, Chad, and also Yachiru, giving us good mixture of recharge, strong attack damage, and also full stamina damage. Bonus abilities, keep it simple, full stamina, and also SP is all you need to give to make OH-etsu one of the best characters in the entire game. Alright then, so first up, let's take the character into Carb Ultra Inheritance Trials, where remember the enemies themselves do have iron skin, so they are taking 80% less damage unless we inflict them with a status ailment. OH-etsu doesn't, need to turn off auto, hold on. OH-etsu doesn't go through iron skin, and you're going to notice that it really doesn't matter. One thing I will say though, visually this character does look great. So after using 3 strong attacks here, we are about to activate the gauge effects. So let's go ahead and do that right now. And this is where our damage output just gets significantly crazier, right? Now, lucky for us, in this particular quest, we are immune to burn, so we can stand wherever we want to. And look at that. We were able to kill, what, 3 waves there? With just 1 strong attack free? With the enemies having iron skin. Let's use our SA2 here, kind of positioned it poorly. But his strong attacks have, like, great visuals to it, and they come out super fast as well. Let's SA1 downwards. Then SA2 didn't even seem like we needed to use the SA2. The SA1 was enough. And one thing that's worth mentioning, he also does have an EX attack. And I'm not gonna lie, it's probably the worst part about this character's kit. Like, it's always nice to have an EX attack. But in his case, you're rarely ever gonna use it. I don't think you ever want to use this EX attack, which kind of sucks because it is, they called it a super strong attack, and it generally doesn't feel like that. If anything, it's only an attack you use when you have cooldown. when you're waiting for your strong attacks to come back. Because if you go ahead and use it right now, it's an area around him, doesn't have the best range to it, and the damage itself isn't anything super crazy, at least when compared to the strong attacks. So for our very first run, where we don't have Killer, where we don't have Pierce Iron Skin, and we cannot inflict status summon, so in a way, this is supposed to be the character at its worst, we cleared in 1 minute and 25 seconds, which is comparable to the most recent 9th anniversary characters. But the thing is, we weren't going for a fast clear time. We can get faster than this, so let's go ahead and do that. So let's go ahead and try that again. All right, so attempt number 2. Let's see how this does go. One thing I will say, though, I'm very glad they did bring back the gauge effect with this character, right? It's something that we haven't seen since, I believe, Sangdu, who came out earlier this year. And I'll be honest, near the end of last year, I started to somewhat dislike gauge characters because they were just nerfing them for no reason. But you can see here, one strong attack and we're already got our gauge effect back. That is really, really good. But characters like Ichibei and also Nini weren't really the most fun characters to play with. Bosses go down in 2 strong attacks. That is insane. Like I mentioned, we rarely even get a chance to use our gauge effects. And then the gauge is back. Like, his damage output's so high. This is crazy. This is crazy. I can't even finish sentences because we're clearing so fast. But yeah, gauge characters, their damage output were nerfed when the gauge wasn't active, and I didn't really like that. Let's use our EX attack now. I mean, to be fair, I did quite a bit of damage. But if anything, Nemaya's like the perfect gauge character. His damage output is high as is when the gauge isn't active. And then when it is active, it gets even crazier. So you're able to kill super fast. And as you saw multiple times there, the gauge was almost back. One strong attack was all it took to refill the gauge once it did actually finish. In that 10-second period, we had insane damage. Now, in this case, at 1-5, lags. He's clearing faster than any character in the game. Like, this is crazy. 51 seconds in IT. What he doesn't have Killer. This is faster than Kenpachi and Gremmy. And then all the other 9th characters. This is insane. 51 seconds in IT with no Killer, no stat summons, no Pierce Iron Skin. The only character that I've seen clear faster than this is Senjumaru, who is like one of the best farmers in the entire game. She has Pierce Iron Skin, and also Yuha Bak, who has the advantage, the only character in the game where he has 2 soul bombs. So he basically clears one whole room in one attack, essentially. So he has the advantage in that case. But man, being able to clear this fast with a cool character such as OH-etsu, and the gauge effect just makes him so much more fun because you just get to spam all your strong attacks. And I really do believe the character would not be nearly as good as he is right now if it weren't for the strong attack kit that he does have. Like, it just makes the character almost perfect. Like, that SA2 has some really good back range to it as well. Let's flash step out the way. There we go. I will say, though, admittedly, you do have to be careful where you do stand in a normal IT session. It just still happens that we're very fortunate enough in this case that the enemies, or this map does feature burn pools, right? Because that just means we can stand wherever we want to. That is going to be a problem with this character. And it's been a problem with a lot of characters because Kelab don't want to give characters, full immunity. In that case, I actually need to pay attention. The EX attack does seem to build up the gauge. So that's also something even crazier. Not like he needs that extra support. He generally is the best gauge character in the game. And having that EX attack potentially fill up even more, give you more gauge refill, is kind of crazy to think about. If anything, if someone doesn't hit as hard, but that's relatively fine, to be honest. Look at that. Insane. Insane. So let's do one more run and see what the EX attack does do for the gauge itself, because I'm kind of curious, because I guess if anything, I might want to use that straight away, just the instant fill the gauge, if I possibly can. In that case, though, this run wasn't really perfect. We made a lot of mistakes, and we're still clearing in just 1 minute time. That's still crazy. All right, then, so let's see how much the gauge does actually fill up. That's a decent amount, because in this case, it's what, like one strong attack and an EX attack is enough to build up the gauge. And we don't really get too many opportunities to use it because we're just spamming our strong attacks. Had a little bit of a lag spike there, unfortunately. But again, you can see here, one strong attack is basically all you need to refill the gauge. Let's go down here. SA1, then full screen. Nice and easy, 2 strong attacks. I think this map is doing him favors too. Might as well use one nat string, activate the gauge once more. Go up here, SA3. Oh, that feels great. That feels great. And then going into the final room, let's see if we can position ourselves properly. Yes, we can. Soul Bomb now. Then 1. And then 3. Nice and easily done. The Blade God himself absolutely decimating a quest that literally doesn't want him to, right? Everything is going against him, yet he is the guy. He is the guy, the number one Sanpato creator for a reason, and in this case, 46 seconds. 46 seconds. This might be the most fun unit in the entire game, I'm going to be honest. And it's OH-etsu too, right? Like, you normally want fun, great characters be on cool characters, right? Like, this kit, these strong attacks on someone like Kiryu, not to like give hate to Kiryu, but Kiryu's not that cool. You don't want Kiryu to be that good. OH-etsu though, you want him to be that good. You want him to be this cool. It's like the perfect just duo. Perfect character to get the perfect set of skills, perfect set of strong attacks, and with that result, we're clearing IT in just 40 seconds. Next up, we're taking the Blade God himself into the ultimate Ion Epic Raid. Currently right now, he is a bonus with a 3x damage output. Not like it matters, I mean, he's going to one-shot the boss anyway, but in this case, we are going to be building the exact same. This time, though, we have these 3 particular familiars, giving us a good mixture of Berserker and full stamina. Remember, this is my alt account, so I haven't really like fully worked on the pets, but it's still giving us a really good increase nonetheless. Now, the final phase of this particular epic raid does have Ion have a shield where we have to like do multiple hits. I don't have a familiar that gives me more hits on that final phase, so we're kind of hoping just to brute force it if we possibly can. And at least in epic raids, like I mentioned, damage output can be fairly consistent, right? Let's go ahead and use our EX attack. 600k on the EX attack. But then the gauge activates, it's so much different. In this case, the run's basically over. So if anything, it looks like this run was like a 15-second run. Because unfortunately, I don't have the familiars to kind of get past this part right now. Let's try that again. This time, maybe let's use our EX attack right away. Just to kickstart the gauge. Like that. Then 2. And then we get to use our 1. 3. In this case, can we one-shot? Oh, look at that. We were so close. No way. Alright, so let's make this our final run, at least when it comes to just single-player epic raids. Let's use the EX. Then use our 2. Use our 3 there. That's enough. Let's use our Sword Bomb. And then 2. 1% again. Either way, it looks like we're getting a 10-second playtime. If that final part wasn't there, that I can't break through, at least on solo. So I went ahead and opened up the lobby, and in this case, we have 4 OH-etsus in our lobby. One of them is actually Max Transcend, which is kind of crazy to think about. But let's see how fast this run is going to be. I assume around 10 seconds as well. Yeah, look at that. Damn. Damn. Okay, what just happened? That was the Max Transcended one. That went too quick. Now, a Max Transcended OH-etsu Sword Bomb packs a punch then. Yeah, 5-second play time. Let's try that once more, this time without the Max Transcended OH-etsu. Alright then, so this time we have no Max Transcended OH-etsu in our lobby. Maybe this time we can actually see it more so what you would normally expect, right? Right, so my gauge is about to activate. There we go. And then in this case, if we combine all of our attacks, yeah, nice and easy. For the most part, at least in this month of Epic Raid, you probably don't even need to bother with that final shield phase because OH-etsu is going to brute force right through it. Next up, let's take OH-etsu into Limit Breaker Quest. It did release this morning, and right now we're only showing OH-etsu stages, which to no one's surprise, he is going to be clearing ridiculously fast. In my particular team, I did choose to pair him with Macy, and that essentially allowed me to spam any strong attack I wanted to in any stage that I went into, and that would pretty much guarantee that the gauge effect is going to stay active all the way up into stage 25. Now, I think one of the best parts that you are going to see with OH-etsu in Limit Breaker is that because he doesn't have to inflict stat elements to get his max damage output, he's going to be very consistent, always at that high damage threshold. While it is rare, there are times where my characters inflict stat elements too quickly, and at that point my SP boost wears off, and now I have to wait around 7 or so seconds for that stat element to wear off for me to then reapply a stat element. In OH-etsu's case, he just spams his strong attacks and does crazy damage, right? I will say that it was actually very nice using a Limit Breaker character for once with the Poise Break skill, and I feel like OH-etsu was almost one of the perfect characters to have this skill given the fact he can't inflict any stat elements. I really do feel like he wouldn't be as fun or perform as well in Limit Breaker if not for Poise Break, because again, he can't inflict any stat elements and for the most part has no form of crowd control, so Poise Break does make up for it. When using this character, especially on those enemies that usually have poise, of course you are negating that, make sure you are positioning yourself quite well and using strong attacks to kind of group them together. If anything, try and get them in a corner, because it is also very easy for them to be split apart, and you don't really want that because at that point you're then wasting strong attacks. You want to make sure you are hitting everyone when using your attacks to clear as fast as possible. Remember, this character also does have weakened defense, so if you do decide to use your Soul Bomb, you will be then doing 30% more damage, but in my opinion, we honestly didn't even need it. OH-etsu is clearing his stages as fast as is. you're honestly better off using your sub-bomb on the other characters because OH-etsu's strong attack damage output is already crazy and enough to get upwards to stage 25 if you of course do own OH-etsu. So yeah, overall to no surprise, very good character in Limit Breaker, very fun too, finding nice to use a powerful character designed for Limit Breaker with the Poise Break skill, hoping to see that more often. So yeah, overall, OH-etsu is absolutely crazy. Absolutely crazy and easily right now one of my favorite characters of the entire year. I just like how different he is, right? Like I mentioned earlier in this video, the gauge effect was something that I didn't really like on characters because, you know, Ichibe and also Nini, more so Nini because she lacked the recharge, but their damage output is super low when the gauge isn't active and it just makes them a lot less fun. Sangdu pretty much fixed that, and right now OH-etsu is another example of that where gauge characters can easily be some of the most fun and craziest characters in the entire game if built correctly, and that's exactly what this OH-etsu is. Like I mentioned, he's kind of going against the meta where every character wants to inflict stat elements, especially nowadays where they want to do that only against their respective killer. OH-etsu is just going to go in and absolutely destroy anything regardless of killer, regardless if he has to inflict a stat element or not. To a certain extent, he might be one of the more consistent characters in terms of damage output, because unless for some reason someone inflicts a status element, he is going to be doing a ridiculous amount of damage. And even then, to a certain extent, if the enemy is inflicted with a status element, his damage output's still going to be high, mainly when the gauge effect is active, because Frenzy Free 100% Berserker is still great as is. I think the best part, again, is that it's just a OH-etsu. While I didn't mention it, a lot of the things this character does is actually really cool. You know, from his posing, to his end post, to his base stance is right out of the anime, and even comparing the Sobom, which of course the original OH-etsu did do, comparing the Sobom to the actual anime scene itself, I'll be honest, this is one of the few examples where Caleb did it better than Perio. Getting that very brief moment of OH-etsu actually running towards our skin adds a lot more to the entire attack. Additionally, having that final slash there, which wasn't originally present in the anime, also just adds a bit more to the climatic effect of that particular attack. And then at least for me, because I do care about these things, you actually do get to hear the Sayafushi sound effect in the Sobom. Unfortunately though, not in the character's actual gameplay. It's only in the Sobom, which is one criticism that I do have with this character. He would have been an absolute 11 out of 10 if you could hear Sayafushi during the strong attacks. Unfortunately, that's not the case. It's only during the Sobom. Likewise, one criticism that I do have on the character release is the fact that in the development footage of the character, when he does do the slash against our skin, you can actually see the Zanpakuto shake because that's what Sayafushi is. It's a very wobbly Zanpakuto. You can see it shake in the Sobom, but in the actual base character now on release, this shake is not present, unfortunately. It was a really cool attention to detail that for some reason is not here anymore. And then if one criticism that I do have is the EX attack, it's just lacking when compared to every other part of this character. But it's not like the character's worse by having the EX attack. It does make him better because now that we do see, the EX does actually build up the gauge effects. So if anything, the EX attack is just an extra move to help you fill up the gauge if needed, and also to do extra bits of damage. It's not really there to be a damage dealing attack. In my opinion, it's more so just to help him keep the gauge at full, which to be fair, he kind of does already without the EX attack. But in the chance if you are in a situation where the EX is about to be full, but you're waiting for your strong attacks to come back, you can then potentially use the EX attack. I think he's overall a very fun character, very well designed too. I almost want to see more characters like this. If anything, the only problem that he does have to a certain extent is the fact that he is a speed character. Speed is absolutely stacked. And then again, we say this for like every character. If this character was a power character, man, that would have been even more exciting. An already exciting character would have been more exciting had he been another attribute, but in a way, that is good reason to skip this character if you don't need him, because he's a fun character, but if you only want to pull for stuff that you need, this character is someone that you could potentially can skip. Everywhere we took him thus far, he's been an absolute blast to play with. Let me know your opinion on this character in the comments below, and I'll see you guys next time. Take care, and peace.